Tash and I were watching your episodes last night and we're saying, how good is Josh in this? You are Prince Charles. Now, you have to learn to speak Welsh because he did. How did that go?
Yeah, sort of. Sort of terribly at first, obviously, because it's like an entire different, it's entirely different logbook of sounds.
Yeah.
But kind of weirdly, so in my first episode where I speak Welsh, one of my first scenes is doing these tongue twisters. And essentially that was a good practice for speaking Welsh. There's lots of and in the wrong places.
Yeah, and the reason he had to learn to speak Welsh. So he's taken out of Cambridge. He was sent to Wales. He was exiled to Wales really for a year, and the people said, look, Wales as a country is not going to buy you as the Prince of Wales. They don't like it anyway as an idea. But if you go there and you embrace the culture and you learn to speak Welsh, and then you give your speech, your inaugural speech as the Prince of Wales in Welsh, then we might get away with it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and it was it's an incredibly difficult time for kind of Welsh nationalism was rife, and there was a real of strong sense that here comes another Prince of, or non-son of Wales coming and taking the Prince of Wales. And so it was kind of not very popular. And so this episode's kind of, I guess Peter Morgan's sort of likening the sort of relationship between Charles and his family and Wales and the family of nations and being the forgotten child or whatever.
So how long did it take you to learn to speak Welsh? Because it's very impressive when you do it in the end. Because he gave this live speech on TV, didn't he? And it was broadcast to the nation. And basically, the whole of Wales, to a man, to a woman, to a boy, to a girl, they were watching this speech going out live.
And it was an incredibly powerful image. And the footage that I watched time and time again, is incredibly dramatic and powerful. And so with sort of as we were kind of going along doing it, we were conscious that we wanted it to kind of be this real spectacle, but also that Charles wasn't that good at speaking Welsh, so we didn't want to go too far. But it took me about a month and a half to learn that speech and kind of get it right.
Well, it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, every single episode of the Crown Series 3 and every episode of Series 1 and Series 2 has been outstanding. Telly as good as it can possibly be. But what I love about the Crown generally, is you can watch Series 3 and 1 and 2. You can watch them in any order you like, because obviously they're chronological, but each one deals with basically a big issue of the day. So the lunar landings is one.
Yeah, they're like standalone films. In some ways
about parts of history. You have the Heath government and the 3-day week and Harold Wilson Harold Wilson having to resign because of early onset dementia, which I was around. I was there at the time. I can't remember that.
There's so much. I kind of find it amazing. I watched Series 1 and 2 and was mad fan of it.
So straight off the bat, Prince Charles comes across, and it may not be correct, and he comes as a reluctant, repressed prince in going to Wales, which feels itself repressed as a repressed principality at the time. And then we've heard about his relationship with his father, but then in Series 3 of The Crown, you sort of get this thing about the fact that he actually longs for the love of his mum as opposed to his dad.
I mean, what was great in Series 2 is we have right at the end of Series 2 there was an episode seeing Charles go off to Gordonston, having wanted to go to Eton and
round the corner from where he
lived,
literally walk to school.
And instead his father Philip wants to take him to Gordonston, give him a proper have that kind of like rough education, and in what's kind of how that's sort of helped me coming into this series is picking up Charles, knowing that he's gone through that experience. He's sort of finally found his place at Cambridge University. He's found like-minded people. He's found acting, which he seems to be into.
That's how your opening episode starts, isn't it?
Yeah.
What are you doing? All voice exercises.
Doing some voice exercises.
Which the one you're doing?
I think I'm doing more like that.
It's a brilliant opening scene.
It's a wide old mouth straight in there. And I think the relationship with the father was kind of the key last series. Now it's this actually relationship between mother and son, and at the heart of it, for me, the most interesting kind of question for Prince Charles is: here is a man who is waiting for his mother to die for his life to take meaning.
Yeah.
And I guess that as a kind of conflict as a mother and son is like something we can't imagine.
Of course it is. It's a ridiculous conflict.
Yeah.
And also, bearing in mind that Queen Elizabeth II became queen by accident, because the Duke of Windsor, Edward VIII, he abdicated the throne to be with Mrs. Simpson. And
Right.
He's over in Paris,
Yeah.
isn't he? And he wants to do a TV interview with Mrs. Simpson again.
Yeah.
All that comes to the fore. And so, although Charles was the heir, he wasn't supposed to be the heir because his mum wasn't supposed to be the queen.
No, and he has the extraordinary, as you say, extraordinary good fortune, I guess, and one of the only people to experience a kind of a future king being able to talk to an ex-king.
Yeah.
So, normally they would be dead, but
Well,
there's
there's
an
that great
abdicated
line,
king.
isn't it? Usually ex-kings are dead.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why they're ex-kings.
Yeah.
I think Queen Elizabeth says that.
Yeah, I think she does. Yeah, and so the brilliant Derek Jacobi plays.
It's all
the
good,
abdicated
isn't it?
king, and he's amazing.
Don't get me. And honestly, I think you are as good. You couldn't have played Charles better, but you are then surrounded by your Olivia Coleman, your Derek Jacobis, and
Quite intimidating.
yeah, and your Helena Bonham Carter, and your Charles Dances. What was it like?
Yeah, it was the best
What was
thing
it
ever.
like?
It was kind of extraordinary because they're also, they're huge characters and huge stars and kind of idols to me. And the most kind of incredible thing with Olivia, for instance, is that she's one of, as everyone knows, one of the nicest people you're ever likely to meet. And so you'll do these kind of really big, gripping scenes about, the conflict between mother and son, and then afterwards she'll just come and give you a big old hug. So it's quite a strange experience.
Yeah, and also that we've got everything to look forward to. I mean, every episode is gold from the start to the finish. But then you have the two-handers with Helena Bonham Carter and Olivia Coleman, Princess Margaret and Queen Elizabeth.
Incredible.
II.
Yeah.
It's just so,
Quite epic.
I mean, nobody knows what was really said. Nobody knows if these scenes happened. And I think the one thing that makes me feel uncomfortable about The Crown, and somebody's got to say, is that a lot of people in it are still around, and we don't know that they said these things, and sometimes they didn't come close to saying these things or being in these situations. And other people may watch The Crown thinking it's a representation of the facts, and it's not. So what do we say about that?
Well, I think we have to always be conscious that we're part of a drama. It's a narrative, a fictional,
it is fictional,
representation. Absolutely. I mean, the kind of actually, if you look back at The Crown, all the kind of factual public events like the I don't know, any weddings or kind of
the Suez Crisis
investitures.
or whatever. So we know they're going on.
They're the kind of background to the drama, essentially.
That's a good way of saying. So the big events, the big sort of narrative arcs are real, but everything around it is probably fiction.
Yeah.
It's just very well written and hugely convincing. That's the problem, I suppose, the royal family have.
The Chris Evans Breakfast Show with Sky.